Right about now, I would like to bring on somebody for you. Want to tell you that, ask you to help me make this introduction. I'd like to say a name, and I'd like you to repeat the name. And then when we get through, we'll all add it up, and it ought to have some fun for you. Are you ready? Let me say it first. You repeat it after me. John. Paul. Ringo. George. I give you the one and only fabulous Beatles!
And on this Beatles Hour, no stranger to our listeners, the great Charles Rosenaye is with us once again. And now I have to, before I even tell you what he's here for, I think you can probably figure out from the promo that I've been running. But Charles, I've known of Charles, and I've communicated with Charles for years and years and years. I finally met him, and in 2013 we started doing these shows. And Charles Rosenaye, everybody, I asked him, I think once or twice, just about a guest he had spoken to or had at one of his conventions. And he said, you want the contact info? And first of all, he didn't even have to do that. And he was nice enough to do that. And I can't tell you how many guests that we've had on this show, great guests, all because of the great Charles Rosenaye. So Charles, I know I think I've thanked you in the past, but I have to thank you again. You're just the greatest, man. You're such a giving person. And I'm so happy you're back with us.
Steve, thank you so much. You called me great twice. I mean, I want to end with that. Thank you and goodbye.
Yeah, and so the next time we talk, I don't have to say it.
No, that's very nice of you. You know, it's been a pleasure being on your show and getting you some guests. And, you know, we're friends. You know, there was a time where we communicated by either Good Day Sunshine or through conventions or however it was that you were maybe a client or a constituent or a fan. But, you know, I'd much rather be friends. And fortunately, because all the things I've done through the years, whether it's conventions or tours, I've made a lot of friends out there. And thank goodness we're, you know, I like to think that it's a big friendly family, all us Beatle fans and all us people into the pop culture and horror and all the things we're, you know, shared interests.
Yeah. And, you know, when you think of it, I guess for so many people, the Beatles are the center of many friendships.
Absolutely.
And,
having a conversation just today of people who've gone on, you know, some of my Beatle tours to Liverpool and, you know, stay in touch, Christmas cards, Facebook, lifetime friendships from these events, from conventions and from tours. And I don't know if you know Ken Michaels, you know,
of course. Yeah, he was a guest on my show once.
Yeah. And his wife Joanne met on one of my Beatle weekends in the Catskills. We used to do Beatle weekend getaways.
So you're to blame.
I'm the one to take responsibility because they're
just kidding, Ken.
They're a great couple, and it was the weekend that Tony Sheridan and Billy J. Kramer were guests. Wow. In those days, you know, it was just 100 fans going away for a weekend upstate New York. We'd hang out with the guests. We'd hang out with the bands. It was a very different feeling than the conventions, you know, that were held at the time, whether it be the fests or my own conventions. And I think I've sort of transitioned into something else now with the Beatle festivals that we do. But you'll ask me about that when you're ready.
I'm ready as soon as you're. I don't want you to have to put on that shirt for nothing, Charles.
Well, we did, you know, so many years of the conventions where the focus was on, you know, the 50, 100 dealers. One main monster headline band like Beatlemania, The Cast, 1964. You know, it was always one band with supporting acts, and whatever guests. We went crazy trying to get great guests, but it wasn't that hard in those days because I was going to Liverpool. I was becoming friends with the Pete Bests of the world, the Horst Faschers, Norm Rossington, John Lennon's sister, Cynthia Lennon. You know, we became friends first. Yeah. And then they came over for conventions, Sam Leach, Alan Williams, you know, Richie Havens. Oh my God, the guest list.
Richie Havens.
But it came to a point where I said, you know what? there's not a lot of guests that haven't come to conventions. Recycling is fine if you have them as supplemental guests. And then in 2009, 2010, I wanted to show my kids what Daddy did. So we did a few of those old style conventions. We had Tommy Rowe, I had Peter Tork, Gene Cornish, a lot of cool people, but not that monster guest like a George Martin, Julian Lennon, you know, the dream guests. And I said, you know what, if I'm going to do something again, it's got to be about the music. And around that time, we transitioned into these festivals, which were based on what we do in Liverpool. You know, Liverpool there's 50, 60, 80 bands that come from all over the world, converge on Liverpool and are part of Beatle Week, which happens every August. And I bring fans to that. So I thought, well, this is working in Liverpool. A friend of mine named Gary does Abbey Road on the River.
Yes.
And that's all about the bands. If he has a guest, fine. If he has vendors, fine. That was all secondary. So I thought, we'll try that. You know, people from New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, whatever, there is no other Beatles outdoor music festival. It just doesn't exist.
No. Yeah, you're it.
And I'm New England, so they're not coming just from, you know, this part of the East Coast. They're coming from Massachusetts, Rhode Island, all of New England. So what can I give them that it's a little different than conventions? And we thought, well, let's throw these festivals on with 10 bands, not 1, 2, or 3. But my little switch to it all, my little curveball is I make the bands give me their set lists, and no bands can repeat the same songs. So if you book in
that is so great. That's
right?
brilliant.
And if you book in early and you're, you know, this cover band that just does middle 65 and 66, and you're pulling out and you're getting these songs first, the next band that comes in who decides, well, I'm going to do Revolver or Rubber Soul or whatever, but I also want to do, you know, one song I want to do Yesterday. Oh, sorry, it's taken. And I'm really strict with that. And
that is good thinking, Charles. Really.
Yeah, because there are going to be fans who are going to be there from noon to 8. They don't have to hear Twist and Shout ending every set. They don't have to hear everyone do Come Together, you know.
I saw her standing there opening every set. Yeah,
that's right. Or All My Lovin' opening a set.
Right.
So that's been the little touch that's been a little different about it. And it's really grown in the fact that some bands will call me ahead of time and say, we just want to do all Cavern stuff. Can we do that? We just want to do the Pepper album or the Abbey Road album. Absolutely. As long as you get it first. And, you know, we have such a great variety that we've got, you know, a band like once.
Well, you know what? I'm sorry to interrupt, Charles. Let's get the dates down so we know exactly when.
That would help. So it's July 10th. It's a Saturday. It's in Ansonia, Connecticut, which is part of Fairfield. You've got a ticket.
And I've got my ticket already.
You got your ticket to ride. I'm very impressed.
Printed out. So
that's what they look like.
Yeah.
We've got that's awesome. We've got it happening in a big field. So it's outdoors. You know, when we planned at the beginning of the year, we had to be safe about it. We wanted to make sure that if there's social distance, that if someone brings a blanket or some lawn chairs, that they can sit themselves 5 feet or 10 feet away from the people next to them.
Now, Charles, will you have chairs or should we bring chairs and blankets?
So the VIP section, the highest price ticket is up front. It's the first 2, 3, 4, whatever rows, and those are seated. General admission is all field.
Okay, so it's good to know.
They're all bringing their own stuff, and it's a vast field which will be then surrounded by the vendors, surrounded by the food trucks, surrounded by the authors, and it's right. What we're 10 bands, and each band is very, very different. And this is the promo that I'm using. Fab Four Music Festival with the Screaming Girls, which is I think legal to do, and Fab Four is legal to do because I can't use the Beatles logo and I can't use their photos.
You can't even use the well, I guess everything is crazy.
You can't use that T, you know, the
long T, yeah.
But
it's good to know because I use that for my Beatles Hour logo.
Oh, you do?
And Planet Ludwig, the T is long and Planet. Oh,
that's okay.
You know what? When they tell me to stop, I'll apologize.
Yeah, but it's okay. It's because that's fine. You know, I guess I could have called it the festival for Beatle fans, but you know what?
It's not too wordy.
It's
I know.
already
I know.
close to what's out there. And
I know.
if you do it for Beatle fans, you're okay. I do the Magical History Tour, and it's a travel adventure for Beatle fans. And this way, it makes sense because the lawyers don't want people to be confused and think it's the Beatles putting it on. If it's the Beatles
Yeah.
convention or the Beatles festival, God forbid, somebody in the world might think, oh wow, Paul's going to be there. He's putting it on.
Yeah. And the tickets are only $19.99 or whatever to see Paul McCartney.
Right. That's one year I got a call. Yeah, it was we were doing it in Danbury, I think, Connecticut, a few years back, and we got a call. Someone wants their money back. Well,
Oh no.
why? You can't make it? No. You're sick? Someone? No. We thought that Paul and Ringo were going to be there, and we heard it's only cover bands. Oh, okay. Yeah. You thought that Paul and Ringo have nothing better to do but to come to Danbury, Connecticut for a 10-band festival and hang
Well,
out.
I hope they use the money to buy a brain that you gave back, the money that you gave back. That's terrible. Isn't it great that we're so perfect that we can say that about people?
Right? We never make mistakes. And you know what? It's all good. And
Yeah. Now, I want to make sure we get the web address too.
Yes.
You want to say it? And I have it here, but
I'll say it and you can repeat it. www.fab4, the number 4, not the wording, fab4musicfestival.com. And it's the best place to go because it's got the ticket link.
That's where I went.
The bands, and we just added the times they'll be on. So everyone now has
45-minute sets, if I read it correctly, around that.
Well, it's actually 30-minute sets, 15 off.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, of course. You got to set up.
And that's how it times out. So the bands can do a change, but it also gives the food vendors, the dealers, a chance for the people to put traffic.
And Paul and Ringo need extra time to set up for their sets.
They're not young. They got to go to the bathroom.
Exactly.
You reach a certain age, you got to go pishy, right?
Yeah. Even Beatles go pishy.
You know what? I just got to remember to make a note of that. Thank you, because we have to unlock the bathrooms. No, I'm joking.
That would help.
I get calls.
I'm glad I make you think of piss when we talk. Charles.
People call and they say, "Are there going to be outhouses, porta potties, or real bathrooms?" I get these questions. It's real bathrooms, folks. Guess
real
what?
Toilet paper in case.
You can go in comfort.
Nice. You can even go in through the bathroom window if you have to. Ta-da. Ba-dum-ba. Thank you.
Well, you know what? Fab4 Music Festival, it'll list all the bands. It'll list.
Can you tell us some of the bands?
Yeah. And then we can talk also about our special guest, which I'm really excited about.
Me too.
So Fab4 Music Festival on July 10th. We've got 10 bands, some who've played with us before, and are backed by popular demand or because they're buddies of mine and I want them to be there. And then there's some that have never been with us before, and I'm really excited because of the combination of bands who've been with us, bands who haven't been with us, bands who are younger, bands who are older, bands who have female leads, bands who are doing solo stuff. It's really the gamut. If you're a diehard and you've never been to a festival or a music or a convention like this, you're going to hear the hits. There's no doubt. Every song you can imagine, you're going to hear. But if you're a true diehard, maybe love the B-sides, the deeper cuts, all that, you're going to get that too. So, it's the best of every world because, it covers all the gamut. So I was stalling as I was going on my phone to see who the bands were again.
Oh, okay.
That
was not nice of me. I should have kind of eased you into it.
It starts off at 12:30 with the Navels, and I love their logo because they're using our Beatles logo, but with the word Navels, led by a female singer who's been doing it forever. I mean, Grace Slick, Joplin, Linda Ronstadt. She can do all that, but she loves the Beatles. So they break away from what they normally do, and they come to our festival. They do a whole set of Beatles with her on lead. Then after that at 1:15, it's Mike Miller's band, One Sweet Dream. And Mike's been out there forever. Looks like Paul.
That's a cool name.
Great name, right?
Yeah.
Big fan. And we mentioned, Ken and Joanne. Joanne's son, Jeffrey, plays drums in the band.
Mhm.
Mike Miller's the lead, and he looks like Paul, sounds like Paul. So they'll be doing all McCartney stuff, Beatles era and solo, with a little touch
Nice.
of Ram for the anniversary.
Yeah.
After them is Merseybeat Connecticut, not to be confused with the MerseyBeatz of Liverpool, the original 60s band.
Well, I won't make another Paul and Ringo joke, but they're not going to be there, the real ones?
No, these guys are from Connecticut. And
I think they'll be good.
we try to mix it up because it's Connecticut bands, New York band, New Jersey, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island. So we've got, the East Coast nicely represented. Merseybeat Connecticut do a lot of British invasion stuff, Beatles and. So
Nice.
we might hear Jerry and the Pacemakers, Peter Gordon, Holly Searchers, that kind of stuff. After them is our only non-Beatles band called Zilch. Do you know who Zilch is?
Absolutely. But a great monkey set, but please you tell us.
Yeah. They somehow finagled their way into our festival when we had 2 stages. For a few years, we had an indoor and an outdoor stage. So I had enough bands, enough time to fill with, a non-Beatle band or 2. And they just won everyone's hearts. I mean, they're high energy. They sound just like the guys. And I love them. So they earn their way into the top 10.
Absolutely.
And it's, it's a break. If you're a diehard Beatles fan, you're gonna like the Monkees anyway, and vice versa. So it gives me the chance to market to the Monkey fans. And, after them is a New Jersey band called Britain's Best, and I don't think they've been on the scene a long time, but they're one of the 2 suits and boots bands that I've got.
Okay.
And I think you know what I mean when I say that. It's the guys who wear the wigs, put on the Beatle boots, dress in the suits, and look the part. And when you're in the back of the field, man, you're gonna think, when you see those guys, you think it's the real deal. And then if you get too close, you realize, oh wow, there's wrinkles and there's bags under the eyes. Yeah, but you don't want to get that.
I'm glad I didn't get that old. That's what I'll be thinking.
Oh, of course. Double the Dial is at 4:15 or so. Hard rockin' Beatles songs. They're
Double
young,
the Dial.
They're younger guys. Double the Dial. We've had them once before, and they rock. After them is Number 9 at 5 o'clock. Number 9, B cuts. Deeper cuts,
Nice.
B-sides,
Wow.
rarer stuff. And Number 9, because I think they're originally 9 members. I don't know if they're still 9 members, but that also has the Beatles.
So they are getting into the B cups.
Yeah, warming up the headliners, and these guys could be headliners of their own. It's their first time with us. The Black Ties, great name. Young, high energy. They're doing some Decca stuff, some Cavern stuff, and some real great early Beatles. They're going to be, I think they're going to be the surprise of this event. We had Black Rabbit a year or 2 ago, or before COVID, and those are those 2 black guys who were on Ellen.
Fantastic, yeah.
You know who I'm talking about?
Oh, the harmonies are
Best harmonies in the history of Beatle cover bands.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
So they were the surprise of that year. I think these guys are going to be the surprise of this one. I really have. They're just great, and I love the guys. And there's a gal who's Natalie, who takes their photos and does some of their promo, and really she's the reason we brought them, and she's going to be there taking photos of the whole event, so I'm really glad of that. And then the headliners are the HOFNERS. How did they get that name?
Might they play a bass guitar? I'm not sure, but
I still get that. I still get why HOFNERS is German. I don't know.
Somebody's named Susanna Hoffs or something. Susanna Hoffs is going to be there from the Bangles. Great.
Spread that rumor. And the HOFNERS, in the past, they've wowed us because they not only sound great, they're great guys, and they have done a different set every single event. First event was the Meet the Beatles. Second was, Shay, the Help. They've transitioned, and the last shows were, Pepper and whatever. I think now they're doing a greatest hits based on what no other bands are doing. So they're going to be the ending band. They go a few
Nice.
minutes.
Oh,
with
man.
They might get 40 minutes, and then they
Mhm.
do a meet and greet afterwards, because they're the
Very,
favorite.
very cool.
Yeah, and you can't go wrong. If someone
And
comes and stays the whole day, they're gonna have a great time. If
Bruce
they
Force we're going to see.
and yeah. I'm gonna.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were transitioning,
I was
Charles.
I
I
was
should know you by now.
I was almost into that transition, but the other transition was that if someone can only break away for a few hours, they're still going to have a great time because yeah, they won't get to see every band, but they'll get enough Beatles music combined with the other attractions.
Yeah. Mhm. And with the 30-minute sets, you'll see more than one band, even if you can just do it for a couple hours.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's worth the trip from anywhere. I mean, it's free parking, great neighborhood, all that. The other attractions at the event, and I say we downplayed, having 100 vendors and memorabilia and all that stuff. We've got a handful who are great. Ron Prager, who's been at forever conventions. Mick Lawless from Massachusetts. About Bill Last is going to be there. One of the Beatle brains of all time.
Yeah.
So about half a dozen phenomenal vendors.
They are phenomenal. I speak from
And
experience. Yeah.
not expensive, and they're friendly. They'll hang out. If you bring your own merchandise, they'll tell you what it's worth. They'll probably buy it from you. So I always forget that aspect of it. And then there's 3 authors who are going to be there. There's Paul Ferrante, who wrote 500 Miles from Memphis, a Beatles book. There's Michael Ventrella, who's written Beatles and Monkeys books. Fred Velez is going to be with him, who's written Monkey book.
Nice.
And also Tony Renzoni, who's a Connecticut guy. He wrote a bunch of rock and roll books, including the rock and roll history of all Connecticut's famous rock people. And one of those people, sadly, we've just not celebrated, but memorialized an anniversary. We lost Gary DeCarlo.
Oh, can we spend a couple of minutes talking about Gary?
I really hope we could, because Gary was a dear friend and was one of the guests at one of my festivals.
Yep.
He was a guest when I did the 50th anniversary of the Beatles, in New York in 2014.
Love that. I love that. I was there.
What a great time. So memorable, so historic. Gary sang a Beatles song, maybe Get Back. I don't remember what he sang, but he also sang his famous hit with Steam, Na Na, Hey Hey, Kiss 'Em Goodbye. Now, the night before, there was a band called Club Big Beatles from Brazil who played a club. And when they do Hey Jude, na 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 na, they give out signs to the audience. So there were 200 na-nas in the audience. When the crowd left at the end of the night, I took those na-nas and distributed them in the theater the next night. So when Gary sang his song, all of a sudden the crowd was holding up na-nas.
I remember that moment.
You could see I wish we had a picture of just his face when those came out, because he had no idea. It was a great treat. And we lost Gary, a few years back, and he was just wonderful.
I mentioned at the opening how you got me some guests on my show. Gary DeCarlo was one of the, and he came back for I think 3 or 4 appearances on the show.
Wow.
Charles, wasn't he just one of the nicest, most down-to-earth guys you would ever want to know?
I put that in my Facebook post of he's not the guy that you just call just to be a guest and to sing his song and to come to an event or do a radio show. You call him and say, hey, I'm having a barbecue next weekend, come over. And he comes over.
Yeah.
He was a great guy. One of the last things I did with him was, he wanted to tell his story in his own town. And that was Shelton, believe it or not, which is one town over from Ansonia, where we're having the Beatles Music Festival. And we got him in the library, and I interviewed him, and he told his life story, growing up in Bridgeport, Connecticut, this and that, and finally, putting out this song and not getting the royalties for it for so many years. And one of the greatest mitzvahs I ever did was I hooked him up with a royalty tracking company. And he made over $100,000 that was owed to him.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thanks to you. Really. That was fantastic.
It was a great.
Wow. This is the first time I've heard this story.
Yeah.
Wow.
He told
me.
me.
You, Charles, man. Great.
For that. So that was a great honor. And, to be able to do something for someone who wouldn't have known about it otherwise. You think, oh, these guys, of course they've gotten their royalties. The problem was his name was never in the credit, even though he co-wrote it and had the contracts and had the paperwork. Whoever co-wrote it with him, and you can, look it up, obviously.
Yeah.
He never got his due. And as a vocalist, a lead vocalist on such a hit, and we talk such a hit, I mean, stadium anthems,
Internationally, no,
Right.
to this day.
Right, exactly. And I hope his, whoever his family are still around are getting residuals, I hope. But you get something if you're the lead singer, you get something if you're a musician on something, but if you wrote it, that's everything. You want to be the composer of it. And as a co-composer, it took all those years for him to get it, but thank goodness he got it. And that was amazing. And Gary was, he was a great guy and a guest. And his claim to Beatles connection was that Na Na Hey Hey knocked one of the Beatles songs out of
Come Together.
Was it Come Together?
Yeah. Yep.
Right. That's absolutely right. So that was a notorious claim to fame.
But we love you, Gary, even though you knocked the Beatles out of #1.
Rest in peace. He was a great guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
No one came up and said, "How dare you knock the Beatles out?" Because if it wasn't him, it would have been, whoever else was on the charts at the time.
I remember because I spoke about that with him on my show once, and I said, "Hey, Gary, I do a Beatles hour, and you knocked Come Together," and you'll know, typical Gary. Hey, man, I mean, I love the Beatles. They're great. He was almost apologizing.
Right.
I said, Gary, I'm kidding, buddy. It was a great song. But he was, I'm sorry.
If it was up to him, it would have been a month later and it would have knocked out, someone else. He would have rather not have that. But it's good he did, because I might not have connected with him and invited him and been part of his life had there not been that silly connection and saying, this is the reason you're coming to my convention. This is your Beatles connection. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. But, thanks for those few minutes. As a matter of fact, our viewers can see, I posted a picture that I took with Gary, actually the only picture with Gary, and it was at your festival up in Connecticut, the outdoor festival. Yep.
So we had him as a guest at one of them. We had Hilton Valentine of the Animals, who just passed away, as a guest. We had Carl Green, who was Herman's Hermits bass player, #2 in order after Peter Noon.
By the way, I believe you also got me. I mentioned your name when I got your permission to mention his name, and he was on my show twice.
Wow.
Charles Rosenaye.
Oh,
that's why you have the great Charles Rosenaye, not just Charles Rosenaye.
Name opens a few of those doors.
It does.
And Gene Cornish was a guest also at these events. And the guest this year is someone who's famous for being naughty. George and John heard of him, heard this song, and fell in love with it and said, we got to sign him to Apple Records. His name was, his stage name is Brute Force. Right. And if you're a true Beatles fan and, a collector and your Apple Records, that his single, The King of Fuh, F-U-H, was the song that they loved and put out on their label.
Yeah,
he's going to perform it.
Do you mean the Fuh King?
I would never say that.
No, I didn't think it. Okay.
The King of
Fuh.
Oh,
my mistake.
So anyway.
So it's not the Fuh King.
We just established it's not.
Okay,
that.
continue. I'm sorry. I stand corrected.
Yeah. What did you think it was?
Fuh King.
Oh, stop. All right. So I had to give you the third one anyway.
Okay. But seriously, folks.
He's going to sign autographs. He's going to meet fans. He's going to take pictures, and he's put out a 45 of it on Ace Records, which he'll have there, and he'll be selling it. And
fantastic! I didn't know he was going to sell the 45s too. Yeah, and he'll be performing.
He'll do that song. Yeah.
Which one is that?
Anyway, he also wrote for others. I mean, he was a member of the Tokens, and they wrote a bunch of hits. The Tokens wrote "Laugh" for the Monkees. Laugh,
yes, okay.
And he wrote for Peggy March. He wrote for the Chiffons, and I forget.
The Circle, I believe.
The Circle.
Yeah.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah.
Beatle connection right there.
Yep.
And
Del Shannon.
Del Shannon was the biggest of the ones.
Yep.
I don't know if necessarily he had hits with those.
No, but
they might have been album tracks or B-sides, but you still,
they thought enough of his writing to record his music.
When a 45 sells, if you're the B side, you get equal royalties to the A side, except for airplays.
Oh, is that right?
You get the equal
Wow.
amount of sales in the day.
Wow.
No one sells 45s anymore, but in the day, you even a B side was amazing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I wanted to. We're going to get back to the Fab Four Music Fest. Oh, I'm sorry, I just stepped on you. Did you have something else you wanted to say about the King of Fuh? Okay.
No.
There was some, I thought I could get to that. There were some, seriously, there are so many great conventions, trips, and things. You want to just give us a quick thumbnail of the other things that you do, and then we'll get back to the music festival, because it's incredible what you offer.
We'll do a history, and we'll talk about what we still do. So 78, I knew there were conventions in New York and in Boston. I said, well, let's bring one to Connecticut, not knowing, this kid is still in school. And I put one on, and I lost a fortune. I had a Butcher cover that I sold to invest in the convention, and I lost my parents' money, but I learned all the things not to do in the future.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was money invested in the future.
Right.
Yeah.
And my parents believed in me, and that was great, because the next year I was in college, and I did one at the college. And because the students were coming and the community was coming, it was the next level up. We had David Peel. We finally had a guest, and we had a great band called the Needles. And then within a few years, it's amazing, Steve, but in a few years, I was producing conventions in Cleveland, upstate New York, Tokyo, Miami, and by 1984, which was the 20th anniversary of the Beatles, I did a convention at the Miami Omni Hotel, which drew 200,000 people, which was unheard of. It was a free event, but I made history. And I was on CNN, and I was on, talking about it. And I'd only been doing conventions for, 5 or 6 years.
And you think, and Charles, at that time, when you had all those people there, you're probably thinking, it wasn't so bad selling my Butcher cover. It got me here. Really? it got me to this.
Another one, believe me, I bought it.
Yeah, okay.
And then we were starting to get cool guests. The first guests were the May Pangs of the world, but before I knew it, Pete Best, and Andy White, and it was historic because the two drummers besides Ringo, I had them as guests on the same stage.
Yeah.
Whoa. And I mentioned Richie Havens because he was at one of my early conventions. He had put out a cover of Beatle albums, and he lived in Connecticut, and he called and said, can I come to the convention? Now I'm going to say, Richie Havens, no, you can't. You're only a Woodstock legend. I learned the day before he was coming. I did the interviewing at all my conventions, and it was the day I realized, not as good as you, but I realized that I could do interviews and interview guests and ask good questions and be funny and all that.
So apparently the check did clear, Charles. When you just said that you can't do the interviews as well as the check. Oh, it hadn't cleared yet?
Cleared yet.
I sent it out to you. Okay, fine.
I didn't get it in yet. All right. Anyway, no. I heard your shows, and you, from the best, from the biggest names to the lowest to the me, you treat everyone equal, and I appreciate that. And you do great.
Oh, thanks. The check did clear. The check did clear, everybody.
You do these scream queens, and you do like beyond. I love this.
Oh, you know who I'm having on, Charles? If you don't mind, just real quickly. Have you heard the name Eileen Dietz from The Exorcist? She played Pazuzu, and she doubled for Linda Blair. She's coming on in August.
Oh, great. We're gonna have
How cool is that?
We're gonna have to get her to give me a top 10 list for the second volume of the book that we're not talking about.
That we're not talking about. Right.
Right. Anyway,
is that the biography of Fuh King?
1983.
Oh.
There's something called Rock Apple Tours. A guy called Tony Rain, used to live in England, says I should bring Beatle fans over to England. He's somewhat of a travel agent and a little bit of a Renaissance man himself. And I bring all these fans to England. We go down Matthew Street. There's no cavern in '83. It had been just
Right,
demolished,
demolished already. Yeah.
right? Or
Yep.
it was boarded up and it was going to be demolished. I forget.
Yeah, I think the end of the 70s it was demolished. Anyway, you're correct. There was no Cavern Street in
What
83.
we were doing is we'd get on our hands and knees, and there was all these boarded up buildings that we were guessed. It had to be here. It had to be here. And we put our ears to the ground and just imagined what it would have been like with music coming out of the basements under the street.
Yeah. Yep.
Now, Steve, how many years later, not 10, 20, whatever, new cavern, a museum on that block, Beatles story. Liverpool went from nada to everything.
Yeah.
And I was there for the whole ride, which was great. So from 83 on, every single summer, we brought Beatle fans to Liverpool as a group, liverpooltours.com. And we'd go to London, go to Henley, because it's on the way. It's Friar Park, where George's home is.
Yeah.
And we'd spend a week in Liverpool, which eventually became Beatle Week, officially. The whole town, the whole city takes over and embraces all the fans. And mind you, there's 100,000 fans coming from all over, different countries. There's 80 bands sometimes playing. So it's pretty special. And we're bringing the fans over. And we're not just bringing them over for the convention and the Beatles Festival. If Paul is playing in Liverpool and it's in March, we're bringing over groups for that. If Paul's doing a concert at the oratorios or any of those events,
Liverpool oratorios,
at Carnegie Hall, Standing Stone, whatever, we're doing groups for that. Ringo's playing Liverpool, I'm bringing groups for that. So we've become that, travel, not an agency, but tour organization for Beatle fans.
Go to. Yep.
Because many times they can't get tickets on their own.
Yeah.
And if they could, what are they going to do? They're going to fly out and stay a night in Liverpool and come back. So we give them a whole package. And the fans want to come back year after year. So we add Hamburg, we add Scotland, we add the Netherlands, Holland, all these great places, so that the people who are returning year after year are actually getting, more places to go and more Beatles history.
My friend Anna has been on your tours, your trips, your magical mystery.
Palatino, something with a P.
Pantoliano, yep. Yeah, Anna Pantoliano, yeah. And, I said, oh, Anna, I have to, sometimes I goes, Steve, Charles takes care of everything. You just go and you're there and he makes sure everything is fun, everything is cool. He said, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to look anything up. He'll tell you. So, I mean, she couldn't say enough good things about you and the tour.
And I got to tell you, you do a lot of businesses. I run a haunted house and, we pray for a 4 rating out of 5. Someone, I waited in line too long. I didn't get scared enough. There's always reasons.
Yeah.
We've never gotten complaints about our tours. It's unbelievable. Thousands of people have come with me.
Yeah.
And it's because it's the ultimate experience. And I try to give the people the same experience that I would want.
Yeah. Oh, you are a true fan. I have to say that to all our listeners.
Fan first.
Charles is a fan first. Exactly. A fan first. Yep.
And everything I do, whether it's a paranormal convention, whether it's publishing a magazine, and we'll get to that in a second. I try to do what I would want others, how I would want the event to be. Yeah. And anyone could go to Liverpool and should. If they can't go in August or they can't go with me, they want to go on their whatever, they should go to Liverpool. There's enough.
Charles, there will be a tour this August?
There is not.
There is not. No, okay.
No, we made that call a few days ago.
I think it's smart.
Because England isn't open officially.
Yeah, right. We might be okay. Exactly.
Right. And, do you have to quarantine 10 days before you go, 10 days after?
Good call. Good call.
Steve, are we going to go in the cavern and be next to everybody who's from a few different countries? Who knows? Vaccinations? Yes, here, but who knows if they got vaccinated?
And if you're going to experience the cavern, you want to get that feeling.
You have no choice. You have no choice.
Right.
It's wall to wall.
Okay.
Yeah. And
I think it's a very good call, Charles.
And the Casbah. So we rolled over fans who had reserved last year to this year. We're rolling over last year's and this year's fans to next year. And it's sad. We've done it every single year since 1983. And to not even do it, the people, thank God, are still healthy and they want to go, and hopefully we'll go next year. But you never know.
Yeah, it's what's going on over there.
Of course. We got a beautiful message from John Lennon's sister Julia, and I'm going to be posting it, next week, inviting fans to come to my event, which is really amazing. Yeah, so that was so beautiful of her.
That is. I saw an interview a couple of days ago you did with Angie and Ruth McCartney.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a great interview.
I reminded Angie, she was a guest, and she remembered being at my convention, and apparently her and Ruth became friends with May Pang through my convention. I loved hearing that. But that year we had Cousin Brucey, he interviewed Cynthia, but I promoted this event as Lennon, McCartney, and Harrison come together at the New York, New England convention. Right? What great promo was that?
What a great come on.
Until Louise Harrison canceled out. So then it was just Cynthia came, Angie came, Joey Molland came, Cousin Lucy came, May Pang came. I'm not allowed to say his name, but Fred Seaman came. A lot of great people were there. And, I was just so proud to have all these people.
Fred the Fuh King?
No.
The Fuh King, Fred?
I think you're confusing that word with semen, because there's a connection there somehow, but we don't want to go there.
Well, listen, that's your baby. Thank you.
Around the early 1980s, we started publishing a magazine called Good Day Sunshine.
Oh God, another great. Oh man, loved Good Day Sunshine with your flexi discs.
We did cassettes.
Cassettes, yes. I'm thinking of Joe Pope. I'm thinking of Joe Pope.
He was my inspiration for so much.
You did cassettes, of course you did.
Inspired us to do conventions because his Boston Beatle conventions were the greatest. He did flexi discs.
Yeah.
And he added a lot of humor to his magazine.
Yes.
And we had Strawberry Fields, which was the Mad magazine for Beatle fans.
Good way.
And we had Beatle Fan, which was the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal, whatever you want to call it. It was, for the intelligentsia. I wanted to be both.
Yep.
I wanted to have all the news of one, but the entertainment factor and the humor and my personality. So I think I meshed those, and drawing from him, we did a cassette issues once a year. And the best one was on our 10th anniversary, because I had met Paul at an event, and I asked them to give us a message, and he did, and Linda did, and the members of his band did, and Tony Sheridan. I go on and on, that 10th anniversary cassette. If someone's out there who never heard it, I mean, that's a rare piece of Beatle memorabilia, because all these people, I think Tony Sheridan might have actually written a song for it, if I remember correctly.
Now I'm going to put you on the spot, Charles. Are any of those for sale? Do you have them? No, okay.
I transferred them to CD just so I can have them.
Yeah.
And the kids can hear them. But I never put them on sale, because a lot of the stuff, if I'm being honest, is bootleg material. And
so you can't,
And the time we put it out, it was gray area. Now it's a defined.
Yes. Yeah.
I would never release.
It's nice to have in your personal library, though, I'll bet.
Yeah, no doubt. So we did that for many years. Of all the things I did, there was no more joy than getting that finished magazine, looking at the cover, looking at the way I designed it, and it grew. It grew from 20, 40, 50, 80. It was over 100 pages. But Steve, putting that out every other month was like writing a book every other month.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I can only imagine.
Everything out of me. And when it was finally reached its course, we changed it over to Matt Hurwitz, who was supposed to put it out, and he couldn't. Unfortunately, he gave up after a few years. It was just too much. After a few issues, no one understands how overwhelming. God bless Bill King, who still puts out a Beatle Fan on a regular.
And I mean, and you had a life, by the way.
I was DJing full time. I had a full time DJ. I started at that point. Towards the end, I had elderly parents who I was taking care of, right? And I was producing conventions and I was doing the tours. I don't know how I did it all.
Yeah.
But with the incoming of the internet, I didn't think it was as important anyway, because everything you would in the magazine you would have heard about in the news. And the impetus for starting the magazine, interestingly enough, was when I was doing the convention, 78, 79, I was pen paling. In those days, we used to have pen pals.
Yes.
We'd write letters to someone who who was 4 towns over because
Yeah.
a call outside of New Haven was $0.10 a minute. We weren't gonna call each
Of
other.
course, yeah.
It was worth a 15-cent stamp. We'd be pen pals. And there was pen pals in Liverpool and in Japan, and we'd have pen pals all over the world. Well,
Mhm.
I couldn't write to everybody anymore.
Right, yeah.
So if I published a magazine, my letter on the first page telling them all the things that were new and what I was doing kind of
Right,
sufficed.
that was the pen pal
That
message,
was
yeah.
my pen pal. And that was the reason actually Good Day Sunshine started, but also because I thought, well, there's already too many Beatle fanzines. One was folding, and it was a gal, Rosita Rodriguez from Puerto Rico. And it was, I used to get this thing called the fan club directory, and there was 100 Elvis clubs, a dozen Monkey clubs, 30 Beatle clubs. And it said which ones were ending. And I wrote to her and I said, well, I'd like to start a Beatles magazine. I want to call it Dig It. And she goes, well, if you want to take mine over, you can have the name. I don't care. Just take it over. If you give my subscribers the last few issues. I'm psyched. I'm thinking, all right, 500. We're going to start with a lot of subscribers. She had 16 subscribers. So that was the basis of Day Sunshine starting. But it grew. We were the largest read Beatles magazine in its time.
It was like Christmas whenever that used to come in the mail, Charles, really.
Thank you.
All your efforts are so appreciated by so many people. I'm sure that you probably don't hear from anymore, about the magazine, but everyone that had that magazine loved it.
Yeah, every so often I'll get a Facebook message, is this the Charles Rosenaye? I go, well, I don't think there's others. And they go, well, I don't see your exclamation mark.
Right.
I didn't know it was you. And I have to explain that Facebook doesn't allow those kind of characters on your name. And they go, oh, great. I used to subscribe to Good Day Sunshine and I lost track. I changed emails. I moved, whatever. How can I get in touch? And wow, and all of a sudden they're coming on a tour with me, or they're coming to the festivals. So
Yeah.
I love hearing from, the fans from the day, and we're still friends. You mentioned family and friends, and, we've become friends beyond, the subscription or whatever.
For
And
sure.
it's all worth it for that. It's
Mhm.
worth it for the people who walk out of the event saying, thank you, we had a great
Yeah.
time.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you're going to be hearing the same thing on July 10th.
So I hope so.
Yeah, before we say goodbye, let's go through everything again with the website and the
Yes.
July 10th on a Saturday.
Yep.
In
10
Connecticut. Know better than I.
10 great bands, one beautiful day. It's at
Mhm.
Nolan Field in Ansonia, Connecticut, which is, I bet you if you Google it, it's going to be an hour, 2 hours, the most from wherever you are.
Mhm.
It's near Fairfield, Connecticut, near New Haven, Connecticut.
Yeah,
Big-
I'm by the George Washington Bridge. It's under 75 minutes for me, maybe an hour. So
Awesome.
that'll give some people in New Jersey an idea.
Cool. And you're not driving Friday during
Right.
shower, so the bridge won't be ridiculous. 10 bands, including our special guest, Brute Force, Apple recording artist, a great array of vendors, food trucks. If you want a beer, there'll be beverages, there'll be drinks.
Mhm.
Every excuse to have the king of pho happy, and and
Oh,
I'll be there.
he'll be fucking happy.
That's
that-
fine.
So
I'm
five
not
times.
counting, but you gave us
Okay.
those.
Five of those and 2 greats. Okay, go ahead.
www.fab4, the number 4, Fab4 Music Festival. You can get tickets in advance. Like you said, only $19.99 for general admission. You can pay a little more, sit up front, or pay a little more and get in at 11 and get your best spot, or visit
Yeah,
earlier.
there's nice choices, everybody.
Those
Your
options.
ticket
You
prices. Yeah.
get your money's worth. 10 acts, you're paying $2 a band for a whole day of great
Mhm. Yeah.
activities. It's definitely worthwhile. And I'm gonna
And
be
I do like the 30-minute set idea. I really do. I think it's great because you'll
Yeah.
just, wow, they were great, and then before you know it, you got 30 more minutes of another band. It's really cool.
Yeah, it's very different. And when I'm not running around taking care of 500 things, I'll be on stage saying hello to the fans. Ken Michaels, our friend, is going to be doing some of the MC chores, so he handles that and does it.
Well, I have to find Ken Michaels. I've spoken to him a few times. We're friends on Facebook, but I've never met him face to face.
Oh,
So this is great. I'm gonna finally meet him in person. I know he's been at a few of your events, but I never actually had the chance to introduce him. So good. Great.
yeah. Yeah, and like we said, a few great authors, but come bring a few bucks if you want to spend. So the food concessions will all be there. Different, you name the truck, it'll be there. If you want seafood, it'll be there. Ice cream will be there. Carnival food, it's all going to be there.
And I can't say enough about the great vendors, Charles. I'm sorry to keep jumping on you, but I can't. These things, the vendors at your conventions are always great and always, in a great price range too.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, because I'm not gorging them on the table.
Right.
When we used to
Okay.
do conventions, $300-400 a table, 3 days events. Here they're paying $50 or $100.
Right.
So they don't have a big overhead. They'd rather sell a button for $1 than for $5. It makes sense. It's all relative. And you know what? They've been doing it forever. So half the fans who are coming up, they're gonna know you from past events. It's just I'm happy and I'm psyched and I love doing these. I hope to God I can do them for many years and be healthy, and that everyone out there is healthy and keeps coming. And
we hope the same for you, Charles. We really do. And we appreciate all you do. And thank you so much for coming on, Charles. And I don't care. I'll say it 20 times. You are the great Charles Rosenaye. You really are.
Thank you, sir. I love you.
You are the Fuh King great Charles Rosenaye.
So you got in the fourth grade and the sixth, whatever that word you just said. King of Fuh, ladies and gentlemen, just for the record.
That's right. Charles never said Fuh King, although he kept urging me on to say it. So anyway.
You'll never fucking get me to say it.
Oh no! Oh no! Dun, 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 dun. Hey Charles, thanks so much. I'm happy that I can call you a friend, and I appreciate all you do for me.
Thank you so much.
All right, Charles.
Bye, everybody.
Take care. Thanks, Charles.